JBN, we keep you informed. Man shot dead in attack at school near Dwayne Park Police Station. A 25-year-old man was shot and killed in a brazen daylight attack on the playfield of a primary school in Dwayne Park, St. Andrew on Thursday. The deceased has been identified as Shamar Wright. Police reports are that about 10:28 a.m., persons engaged in various activities in the vicinity of the school heard explosions and alerted the police. A team of officers later arrived at the location, and during a search, the body of Wright, whose general address was not disclosed, was found. Reports are that the attack disrupted activities at the school, which is close to the Dwayne Park Police Station. Trelawney taxi operator murdered outside his home. The Trelawney police are probing the murder of a taxi operator whose body was found with a chop wound at his home in the parish on Wednesday morning. The deceased has been identified as 67-year-old Carl Patrick Sr., otherwise called Pat, of Duncan's in Trelawney. Reports are that about 6 a.m. the body of the taxi operator was discovered by a passerby lying beside his motor vehicle in a pool of blood. The deceased was holding a padlock in one of his hands, and his left front pants pocket was turned out. The car engine was still running when the police arrived on the scene. Suspect charged with murder in relation to 8-year-old child's death. Detectives from the Major Investigation Division MID have charged 40-year-old Rose, otherwise called Phillip, of Seaview Gardens, St. Andrew, with the murder of 80-year-old Galen Buchanan of Spanish Town Road, also in St. Andrew. Galen went missing on Tuesday, January 21, and his body was found about 3:15 p.m. by residents in the arbor in Royal Palm in Kingston 2 on Thursday, January 23, with his hands bound. Rose, who was found in Trelawney, was taken into custody on Saturday, January 25, and was charged with murder on Tuesday, February 4. He is scheduled to appear in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on Tuesday, February 11. Court told woman agreed to buy child for $500,000. Baby Nair Frank, the infant who was snatched from his mother's arms as she walked in a section of Kingston last October, was allegedly the subject of a $500,000 contract. The clerk of court said in the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on Thursday that based on a statement given by Anisha Ramsey, the accused baby thief, to the police, the baby was given to her by a friend. He said that the intention of the persons involved was to arrange a payment plan, and the sum that was agreed on was $500,000. Ramsey denied being part of any child stealing plan and reported that she thought she was adopting the then 5-week-old baby. Ramsey's attorney reported that it was days after receiving the baby that her friend started demanding $500,000 for the child, and that she had no previous knowledge that money was involved in the adoption. Her attorney, Davian Vassell, said Ramsey, who was 5 months pregnant, lost her child in August and was going through a state of depression because she did not know what she would tell her friends who were expecting her to have a baby. She started to post a lot of sad things on her WhatsApp story, and one day, when she posted a picture of her mother releasing balloons to the heaven to present her baby, a friend of hers messaged to ask what was wrong, Vassell said. According to him, Ramsey then disclosed to her friend how her pregnancy ended prematurely and that she was depressed. Her friend later told her that he knew someone who wanted to give up their baby for adoption, and she told him she would be willing. 2 months later, her friend allegedly made contact, telling her he had a baby for her, and days later delivered the child, who turned out to be Nahir. However, rebutting Vassell's suggestions, the clerk read a statement made by Ramsey to the police where she said that her friend mentioned the cost of the baby before delivering the child. The infant was snatched from his mother's arms after she was dragged into a vehicle on October 13. The child was recovered at a house on Finch Crescent off Waltham Park Road in Kingston on January 22nd. Parish Judge Fiona Ferry Gregory denied the request for bail. Ramsey is set to return to court on March 13. Kingston East Police list 2 men as persons of interest. The Kingston East Police have listed 2 men as persons of interest. They are Rayon Thompson of Mountain View Avenue and Michael Yuan of Sarangi Drive and Goodrich Lane. The police believe the men may be able to assist with ongoing investigations within the division. The men are being asked to report to the Elliston Road Criminal Investigations Branch by 6 p.m. on Saturday, February 8. Anyone knowing the whereabouts of Rayon Thompson and Michael Yuan are being asked to contact the Elliston Road Police at 928-1261, Police 119 emergency number of the nearest police station. Trelawney man accused of killing father denied bail. The man accused of chopping his father to death and then soliciting the help of 3 persons to dump the body in a cane field was denied bail on Thursday when he appeared before the Trelawney Parish Court. Falmouth detectives charged 35-year-old Namardo Gordon with the murder of his father, 59-year-old Glenroy Gordon, on Monday, 3 days after his body was found in a cane field beside his Toyota motor car. The police reported that the body had chop wounds to the head. Detectives also charged Namardo's common-law wife, 28-year-old Christina Kane, his uncle, 40-year-old Ralston Thomas, and his friend, 37-year-old Andrew Campbell. The 3 also appeared in court where Kane was offered bail, while the other 2 were remanded. All 4 scheduled to return to court on Friday, February 14. The police report that the domestic dispute that ended with the death of the elder Gordon was reportedly ignited when Kane accused them of making sexual advances towards her. The dispute reportedly escalated, got physical, and Namardo used a machete to chop his father several times, allegedly in defense of his common-law wife. The couple then reportedly enlisted the help of Thomas and Campbell to dispose of the body. Suffering in silence, lament over cougars pressuring men for sex, but senator says catcalls make her feel hot. A government senator is calling attention to men who receive unwelcome advances from their female bosses at the workplace and suffer in silence. Meanwhile, Justice Minister Delroy Chuck yesterday urged Gender Minister Olivia Grange to roll out a public education exercise ahead of the proposed passage of the sexual harassment bill in a bid to use moral suasion to discourage miscreants from targeting women. Chuck said that Jamaican women were going through hell in taxis and elsewhere, noting that the ministry with responsibility for gender affairs should produce jingles for radio and television to educate our awful men that they need to treat our women better. However, Carencia Morrison, a fellow government senator, said it was important to strike a balance on the issue of sexual harassment, sharing that men too have stories about women who hound them for sex on the job. Many times in this discussion, you have women who come across as the victims, and they may very well be, but let us not forget that we also have a culture that tells our boys and our men that they can't complain about something like this, otherwise you are less than a man, said Morrison, who is a member of the Joint Select Committee deliberating on the sexual harassment bill. You have cougars who stalk them. They are treated like boys by women, some advocating that as we continue these discussions, we are very sensitive and very balanced, she said, adding that men were often bombarded with email and text messages soliciting sex. Morrison also supported the call for a public education program to sensitize society on acceptable behavior. The lines are blurred because there have been times when I feel so good when I walk on the road, and depends on what some of these guys say, maybe I puff my chest out and I actually feel good and I feel hot. Maybe at that time I was probably beautifully harassed. Grange, who also chairs the Joint Select Committee, said that her ministry was aware of the need to strike a balance. Our women are at a great disadvantage, but we also have to ensure that our men are protected, she said. In an interview with Grange at the end of the committee meeting, the Gender Affairs Minister said that the proposed law was intended to protect both men and women from sexual harassment. Paulwell wants a ZOSO instead of SOE in sections of Eastern Kingston. Opposition Member of Parliament for Kingston Eastern and Port Royal, Phillip Paulwell, wants the government to remove at least 3 communities in his constituency from under the recently declared state of emergency SOE covering the Kingston Eastern Police Division. Paulwell, who was speaking in the debate on extending the life of the SOE in the House of Representatives on Tuesday, suggested that Port Royal, which he says is the most peaceful place in Jamaica, should be removed immediately from under the SOE. He also called for the volatile areas of Rockfort and McIntyre Lands, Dunkirk, to be removed from under the SOE and transformed into zones of special operations, ZOSOs. Paulwell said that he was amazed to get complaints from residents of Port Royal that there are soldiers at their doors and that they are being told to keep off the streets. There is a flexibility of apportioning borders around areas that you can decide as areas within the state of emergency. Why not leave Port Royal out of it? I am making a strong recommendation that you exclude Port Royal, he told the National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Strang. However, while admitting the prevalence of gang violence plaguing the communities of Rockfort and Dunkirk, he insisted that instead of placing them under the SOE, it would be better to remove them from the emergency measures and focus on a social intervention program to replace the concluding Citizens Security and Justice Program, which was being financed by the government of Jamaica, the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, and Global Affairs Canada, and the Department for International Development of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Paulwell said that his constituents welcomed the SOE because they see it as a last resort in the absence of other meaningful crime-fighting measures. JBN, we keep you informed. Please remember to subscribe, like, share, leave us a comment, and click the notification bell to receive our daily news items.